Jay here for Full Time Devils. This is the Arsenal preview. Joining me today is David Scott, aka our kid, the street poet. Is that the right term, Scotty?
I don't know. I'm sick of labels.
Oh,
David Scott, fine.
Right, David Scott, my own mucker, David Scott. Also, Abdullah's joining us. How are we doing, Abdullah?
Yes, mate. I'm all right. How are you doing?
Basking in the glory of that epic win over Rochdale, no doubt.
Absolutely, mate.
And representing Arsenal is former Arsenal striker Kevin Campbell, who joins us for the first time. Kev, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on. Hi, guys.
Not at all. Right, we're going to get straight into it. Before we do, Full Time Devils has been nominated for a North West Football Award for Best Fan Media Channel. So check out the link in the description and give us a vote if you can, because we missed out to a Liverpool fan channel for the last 2 seasons, so we need to sort that out. So get voting. Also, Luke Shaw's up for an award, Katie Zellam's up for an award, Mason Greenwood's up for an award, so let's make it a clean sweep of Manchester United victories. Get voting, because that's the award that counts. Right, moving on. United versus Arsenal. It used to be a top of the table clash. This used to be the one what went to deciding where the title was going to go. It was usually the two best teams in the Premier League, two of the best managers in the Premier League. Not so much now. You've got a team that finished 5th last season versus a team that finished 6th last season. So, Scotty, I'm going to start with you. Is this a game between two sides that have pretty much both used to be great and are falling down, or is one side a little bit stronger than the other?
For me, I think Arsenal are ahead of us. Whether that's because Emery's had more time, he's had another year ahead of Ollie to sort of get his ideas in play. But in terms of their style of playing, what they're doing on the pitch at the moment, I think they're miles ahead in terms of where they are in this transition phase, because our transition phase has been going on for 7 years and we don't seem to be turning the ship around anytime soon.
Abdul, Scott uses the term transition. Do you think that's what we're going through at the minute at United? Do you see it as just a transition phase, or do you think it's something a bit more drastic than that? Because a lot of people are losing their minds after a penalties win against Rochdale.
The thing is, I think, I want to disagree with Scotty on something in terms of them being miles ahead. Now, my views, I'm totally being unbiased in regards to how I see Arsenal, but tactically, I've just not rated Unai Emery. I think Ollie's got a lot to learn. He's a new manager. Of course, it didn't go well for him at Cardiff, but how many times have we seen that, managers take over clubs that are pretty much relegated? It doesn't go well, so you can't always hold that against him. Whereas Emery, turns up at Anfield playing a narrow system against Salah, Trent, and it's just like logical stuff like that I've seen him miss out in his game. And I think he's got more of the senior squad. He's got, Aubameyang, who's at his best. The youngest really attacking player, you'd say, in terms of the established ones, is probably Nicolas Pepe, Lacazette, who's played in Lyon, he's come over here, he's had a few seasons. But whereas Ollie's I think he's got lack of options in midfield. Going forward, you've got to rely on the likes of Mason Greenwood, who's only 17. So I think tactically they're not miles ahead. As a club, as a setup, possibly ahead of us in terms of their planning and restructuring. But, going back to your point as well about it being a rivalry, I think both clubs are just far off from where they were. When I started watching football, the rivalry that I straight away got into was United-Arsenal. That was the game that I always looked forward to when I first started watching. Liverpool was massive because it's Liverpool, but they weren't at that level with Arsenal and United. So it is obviously sad to see for both sets of fans, but there's a lot of rebuilding. And I think United, in terms of restructuring and getting an identity and going in the right direction, it's just a tactical sense. That side of the game, has Ollie got that? I don't know.
Well, we'll wait and see. Kev, do you feel more confident going into this game from an Arsenal point of view than you've done in years or you've ever done?
No, I made that mistake when we came there a few years ago when Marcus Rashford scored a couple and you done us free, if you remember.
Yeah, I remember it well.
You were decimated with injuries and stuff like that. And I actually sat in the Stretford end that day with some of my Man United mates. And I took some terrible stink in Stretford end, let me tell you. I really did. But I always said to them before, I said, look, when Arsenal come to town, there's never an easy game at Old Trafford. Never. So I don't buy into, you're not as strong as you once were, but this is going to be a tough game for us as well as yourselves, obviously. So I don't buy into anything easy at Manchester United. You've got to earn. If you get anything at Man United, you've got to earn it. And I think this Monday, if Arsenal are going to get anything, they're going to have to earn it.
It's been a bit of a weird season, Scotty, because, you look at it on one hand, I mean, there's a lot of doom and gloom at the minute because the last result against Rochdale wasn't great. But, we have beat Leicester, we have beat Chelsea. And then you look at Arsenal, as Kevin mentioned, has been mentioned before, they've not had it all easy this season. They've had a couple of dodgy performances, shall we say. Even the win against Villa was sort of a bit ropey. So how do you look at it, Scotty? Do you look at the United should be worried, especially with the injuries, or do you think that there are weaknesses in that Arsenal team that we can exploit?
I think both of them, it's going to be down to obviously scoring goals. I think if we're going to get a goal against Arsenal, it's going to come through Daniel James or Mason Greenwood. And Solskjaer's got to really hit on the attack, counter-attack. For me, looking at how we played recently, you talk about the Leicester result. Was that deserved result? The result against Chelsea. If Chelsea score them 2 goals that hit the woodwork, then it's a different game. I thought Chelsea were the better team apart from how we played in the counter-attack. And I think that's what we've got to do against Arsenal. This is going to be the hardest game that Maguire, Wan-Bissaka has had since they've joined United, I think, with the pace of Lacazette and Aubameyang coming up.
Do you not think, I mean, going back to the Leicester game, do you not think that was like the sort of result and performance that was needed just in case of we got an early goal and we sort of shut up shop and they had a couple of chances, but they didn't really threaten? Or do you think it was a case we got luckier?
I think we got lucky. If Leicester had better strikers, if Jamie Vardy's having a better day, I think Maguire had a good game keeping Vardy quiet that day. But by no means was it a great performance. It was a victory we needed due to the form. But that's where United are now. We're sort of clutching at victories as and where. It's not so much about the performance on the pitch. It's just grasping the victories where we can get them.
Abdullah, do you sort of take a bit of comfort from, as Kevin sort of alluded to before, United have got a relatively decent record against Arsenal at home. Even David Moyes beat Arsenal at Old Trafford. So do you take comfort from that, or do you look at the way we are in a minute and think, there's alarm bells ringing?
I don't think you can ever really do that. Of course, there's always the effect of that in like the big games, with the, proper rivalries like Liverpool in terms of what it means to the fans. A bit more, we always seem to lose certain games, even when Liverpool was 7th and 8th and we were top of the table. We'd always lose that game at Anfield and it frustrated us as fans. But I think both clubs have moved on from that stage now and they're both in that restructuring stage. I think that aside, I don't think it really matters in terms of, what happens on the pitch. It's always going to be a tough game. I think both the fans, the players are going to be up for it. But a lot's changed, from even when Marcus Rashford made his debut, but, 2 new managers, a whole new setup for both sides pretty much. The way I'd approach this game, really, I think Manchester United have got a bit of a problem when they're getting into the final third, which I noticed at West Ham. You'd see Andreas Pereira, when we're trying to carry the ball forward, he'd be left alone, trying to come central because that's where he wants to be to find a pass. And it'd take ages for United to commit players. And I think that's down to having Matic alongside McTominay. I think McTominay's fine. I think he does his job brilliantly. But I don't know why Matic is there alongside him. I think if Paul Pogba and Fred are to start, then you get that extra man forward with Andreas Pereira or Jesse Lingard or whoever's whoever's hitting teams on the counter. But I do feel like we're just better on the break and it naturally happens. I don't think it's Ollie's pure setup. I think our idea is you look at the way we press from the front. It isn't the right way of doing it, but you can see that we're trying to press teams and trying to win it back quick and hit teams straight away. But I feel like we're just naturally playing on the pure counter right now. And I think Dan James, Mason Greenwood, and if Paul Pogba's in there as well, he can carry the ball pretty well. And if we can get man forward when we win the ball back, and that's why for me it's why I think if Fred and Paul Pogba play in this game, it will have an effect. Especially Xhaka. I don't know. I don't understand why Xhaka still starts for Arsenal. Guendouzi's brilliant. He's phenomenal to watch. I'm a big fan of him.
Kev, when you're looking, United have been very up and down, but the fact that, you can see United, we got a result against Chelsea, although Scotty said Chelsea did have chances, we're able to grind out a result against Leicester. So at home, our form, other than the Crystal Palace game, it's not been all bad. Do you look at this United team and think that they're capable of grinding out a result and Arsenal needs to be a bit careful there?
100%. Look, your attacking talent is unquestionable. The lad Greenwood, he's going to be one for the future, but he's actually pulling you out the fire now. So he's got that talent. Marcus Rashford's not going to be there, I don't think, but you can have the likes of Paul Pogba. There's rumour has it that Martial might be fit. So you have to play these quality players. And the one Achilles heel for Arsenal is their defence, or when they haven't got the ball. And that's one thing United are good at. When they've got the ball, they can hurt you. So, it's going to be a bit of a balance of what's going to really happen. Am I worried about this Manchester United team? Not so much when we've got the ball, but it's when we give the ball over, we turn it over. You've got a lot of pace and you're very direct. And Arsenal tend to struggle with teams that play that way.
We have got a lot of pace, and it is an exciting attacking lineup. We'll have to see who Ollie can call upon because we've been ravaged by injuries. We're going to take a quick ad break, and then we're going to come back with the predicted 11s. Right, we're going to get into the predicted 11s. Scotty, I'm going to ask you first. Who do you see starting in this one for Manchester United? Who can start for Manchester United? Because we know that there's quite a few players out.
Well, it picks itself, doesn't it? Unless we're going into the youth team.
I think the youth team is the first team now, isn't it? Playing children.
I'm going for De Gea in net. Back four is pretty much going to be Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, Lindelof, and Young. Then I've gone James, Pogba, McTominay. And like Abdullah said, I'd like to see Fred start alongside McTominay. Matic just hasn't got the legs anymore. And Arsenal have got a lot of pace. And it just why Matic is still starting against United is beyond me. I'd have thought he'd be gone in the summer. And then Pereira and then Greenwood.
Yeah, like you say, it is a question of who's available and who can do a job. And I think a lot of people are saying the Man United just isn't up to it anymore. Abdullah, who have you gone for?
I'm going to go for a back four of... Thing is, I don't know, Lindelof, you reckon Axel... I feel like in one of these games going into the season, like, especially in the next 2-3 weeks, if Lindelof doesn't book his ideas up and start performing, because I'm a big fan of him, he's not done well, I feel like Axel might get a surprise start. Maybe not this game. I'll stick with Lindelof. At left back, Ashley Young will probably keep his place, won't he? Unfortunately, I just don't think he's good enough to be at left back for Manchester United.
Stop sitting on the fence with Ashley Young, right? And just tell us what you really think about him, Abdul. You're sick of this flip-flopping all the time about Ashley Young. 1 minute you love him, next minute you're not sure.
Listen,
just come out and give us your opinion on him.
Going into midfield, I think Scott McTominay's had a season for us. He's starting to improve his game all round, looking for longer passes, intercepting the ball brilliantly. But I think it's time we bring Fred alongside him. We've seen in that decent run of form we had at times last season where Fred and McTominay played together, and they just seem to have that understanding. Partnerships aren't just for strikers. I think it's throughout the pitch. Your defenders, your midfielders. I think McTominay and Fred have the biggest understanding. I'd go Paul Pogba ahead of them in the 10. I feel like he's not going to start. I feel like Tony might start on the bench, so I'd go Jesse on the right. Jesse always seems to have that good game against Arsenal. I think it suits him. Arsenal sometimes dwell on the ball a bit too long, especially with the likes of Xhaka, and when he's pressing them, he seems to win it back really well and even get the goals. He's been involved in 5 goals in 5 games against Arsenal, an assist and 4 goals, so he's got an impressive record. So I'd go with him on the right. I think Andreas is too slow, especially if you want to hit teams on the break. And if you've got Pogba there, do you really need Andreas? As the striker, Mason Greenwood. It's mad saying this. 17 years old. Been watching for a couple of years, playing in our academy, and he's impressed me how he uses both of his feet. Physically, he's getting there. Incredible player to watch. Definitely one for the future. But the fact that he's starting at 17 and will probably start on Monday night is crazy to me. But the lad, he's got the ability to let the ball off with both of his feet, and you never know what can happen. So Mason up front, and of course Daniel James on the left, who's had an impressive start to the season. He's surprised me in terms of the numbers that he's already putting up and the energy he's brought to the side. But yeah, I think that's the team. I want to see that's the team Ollie will go for, because you've just got to see how you can hit Arsenal in terms of the press and on the break, and this team seems the most ideal for me.
Kev, I won't ask you for a United team. As you can see, it's hard enough asking United fans to pick an 11 in a minute, so I won't put you through that. I will get to you in a minute on the Arsenal side of things. I'm just going to quickly go through my team. I'm going to go with, I think it's pretty much the same as what you said. David De Gea, Adam Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire, Young, Herrera and Herrera, I wish. Fred and McTominay, can't read me all writing. Still pining for Ander, I miss him. Fred and McTominay, and then Jesse, Pogba and James, and Mason Greenwood up front. If, as it seems that this is going out as well before this is being recorded, before the press conference, so we're going off what we know at the moment, so it might change and Martial might be fit, and if he is, fingers crossed, then obviously he'd be in my starting 11. I think he'd be in everyone's starting 11 if he's fit enough. Kev, I'm going to come on to...
Would he be in your starting 11 in place of Greenwood or with Greenwood?
That is a good one. I'd probably put him in place of Greenwood. I would. Greenwood's a great talent, and I think, as you said earlier on, Kev, I think he's going to be a big player for Manchester United for many years to come. I just think we've got to be a little bit careful with him as well. Yes, he's great. Yes, he's scoring goals. Yes, he's obviously young and he's full of beans, and he wants to play every game. But we need to manage him properly. And I think if we can take him out of the firing line as much as we can, then we should do. because playing him week in, week out, it's a lot. And he's already under pressure, you know. He might not feel it, but fans are already expecting things from him. And we say, oh, we know he's 17.
Yeah.
Mate, I know there's a lot of United fans who, if he misses a chance, they're having a go at him. And not all, but there are fans that are expecting a lot from him. So I would like to see him managed a little bit carefully if we can. I'm going to get on to Arsenal, Kev. What can you tell us about this side? Are you a believer in Unai Emery and what he's doing?
I could tell you Arsenal with the ball are pretty good. Without the ball, they're awful. They are so inconsistent. There seems like there's an imbalance within the team. They're brought in Socrates and Luiz at centre backs. You don't know what you're going to get with them. They can be good on their day or they can be awful on their day. So, you know, it's quite crazy, to be honest. Playing Ainsley Maitland-Niles as a right back, and he's not a right back. Kolasinac has played there, and he can't defend. He's a wing back. So it sounds like a bit like the Keystone Cops at times for Arsenal defending. So they do concede quite a bit. Midfield, there's an imbalance in midfield. I think Xhaka got a mention previously, and there's a massive debate amongst Arsenal fans of, you know, what is Xhaka? You know, is he a defensive midfielder? He's not, because he's definitely not an attacking midfielder. He's just a passer. So, but he's got no legs. And I think if Manchester United sees Xhaka's name down on the team sheet, I think you'll be happy. Because Dave, you're praying and all that.
Watch him bang one in from about 30 yards now, Xhaka. We're all sat here going, he'll be his, and it's one of them, innit?
He's already done it twice to us.
I know, he's done it, hasn't he?
Yeah, but believe me, that happens few and far between. And I think you would prefer to be playing against Xhaka because you know you could run off the back of Xhaka and he will not track you, you know. It's difficult. I'm not a believer in Emery, but I believe in giving him time, if that makes sense, because he hasn't convinced me in, just over a season and a bit now. We don't even have a proper identity. I think that's what I look for in a manager. What's the identity of this team? If you can see where the identity is going, then I'll stick with him. I don't quite see the identity yet, but we've never had the correct fullbacks in yet, which Bellerin just came back the other day, and Tierney, who we bought from Celtic, he's come in, he looks good. So we've not had the fullbacks in there yet, and there's still an imbalance in the team that I would have expected the manager to be able to rectify, but he's not rectified it yet. So am I a believer? No, but I believe in giving him some time to get it right.
The big question, Kev, is Pepe as good as Dan James?
Pepe's better than Dan James. Come on, he's better. But right now, Dan James has been a lot more effective. He's been a lot more effective. Pepe's taken a bit of time to adjust, which can happen because coming from France to England is a totally different kettle of fish. He's flashed at times. He's got some unbelievable ability. But as I say, we haven't really settled him down yet. So Dan James is probably more effective at the moment than Pepe, but Pepe will prove that he's a better player.
Fair enough. I don't agree. Dan James is the greatest player ever. Right, let's get into the predicted scores. Abdullah, I'll start with you. What's the score going to be?
I don't even know with this team.
Come on, Abdullah,
Come on, you said they weren't miles ahead. Come on, Abdullah.
Mate.
Come on, Abdullah. You've been on negative form, man. What's the matter with you? Ollie's at the wheel and all that.
All right, I'm going to go 3-1 United.
Wow.
I feel like
Mate, that's a bit over-ambitious, that. What have you been smoking? 3-1 United?
I feel like Arsenal might have the better game, but I feel like we're going to get one of them ones, you know, we've had in the past. Like when we've gone Arsenal away even, they have all the ball, De Gea pulls out a great game and we hit them on the break. I feel like it could be one of them. So I'm just going to go, say 3-1. I've got to say that we're going to win in it. Can't really say really.
Mate, you don't have to. You can get away with anything. Don't worry about that. Honestly, people have a go at you now for being too optimistic. Scotty, what are you going with, mate?
Matt, I'm going for an optimistic 1-1.
Mate, that's ridiculously ambitious.
I can't see where Abdullah thinks we're going to get 3 goals from when we scored 20 goals in 18 games. We haven't got the strikers.
We've got 4 against Chelsea and we were rubbish.
Mate, yeah. We might get a few.
That's how we're gonna get it. When we're supposed to play on the
so,
counter, we score.
I'm going for 1-1. If Arsenal score more than one, then we'll really struggle to get two. I just don't think we've got the firepower.
Arsenal are mad this season, aren't they, Kev? Because isn't it something like you scored 11, conceded 10 or something stupid like that?
Yeah.
You do score a lot,
Aubameyang's
but you concede a lot as well. What score are you going for, mate?
I'm going to go for finally Arsenal to get a win. I'm going to go for 2-1. I think it's going to be a difficult game. Believe you me, as I said earlier on in the pod, I seriously think Arsenal are going to come and United are going to give them a good game. But I just think Arsenal are going to have a little bit too much firepower. So I'm going to go for 2-1.
This is one of those games, right, where you look at it, you think there's going to be loads of goals. It's going to be end-to-end and all the rest of it. So I'm going to go with 0-0.
No, there's got to be goals, especially with our defence.
There's always goals with Arsenal United, isn't it?
Listen, if we can get one past Rochdale, I'm sure we can get one past Arsenal. Guys, listen, thanks for coming on the channel. You can check out Scotty's latest single. Scotty, give it a bit of a plug.
Check out Spotify. It's called Riot, ARGH Kid is what the name will go under. It's all about the government and the bunch of bastards that they are. Can I say that on here?
Well, you've said it now. We don't care. Listen, we're just a platform for people to share their views. You know what I mean? We don't have an opinion. That's yours, and you're entitled to it.
Sure.
I don't think Boris Johnson watches this anyway. Abdullah, Kev, thanks for joining us. You can check out those guys on Twitter and all the rest of it. You know where to find them. And don't forget as well to vote for us for the Northwest Football Awards Fan Media Channel of the Year. The link is in the description. I've been Jay. Oh, thanks for watching.